Today we're going to be making some beer battered fish tacos. We're going to start off with our oil. Throw that into a pot and bring that up to 375 degrees. You can use any frying oil for this, vegetable, canola, either will work. Now let's make our beer batter. It's super simple. Here's what you're going to need. Some all-purpose flour. And then for our seasonings, we're going to use salt, white pepper, paprika, chili powder, black pepper, onion powder, and I don't show it here, but also baking powder. So we're going to use a tablespoon of the chili powder, a half teaspoon of white pepper, tablespoon of onion powder, tablespoon of paprika, probably about a teaspoon of salt, a few cranks of black pepper, probably about half a teaspoon, and then a half a teaspoon of baking powder. Mix that up a little bit. Now we're going to take 1 cup of our flour, add in our seasonings, mix that up a bit. The easy thing about this beer batter is the ratio is 1-to-1 with flour to beer. So with 1 cup of flour, you're just going to throw in 1 cup of your favorite beer. We're just going to start mixing that around until it's fully incorporated. My batter was looking a little thick here, so I threw in a splash of beer to loosen it up a bit. You want it to be almost pancake batter consistency. You want it to be able to coat the fish without falling off. This looks good. Next up, I have some tilapia here, 2 fillets. You can really use any whitefish. Cod works great also. So I'm just cutting it up, cutting them in half, and then I'm going to cut them again lengthwise. I really just want them to be small strips so they can fit on my small flour tortillas. You don't want to go too big here because you want them to fit on the taco. So go ahead and cut all of your fillets to size. Next up, we're going to start throwing them all into our batter. Just toss them in one by one, give them a little coat, mix them all around until you have all of your fillets inside and fully mixed up. Once you have them all in there, you can set this aside and we'll get to work on the toppings for our tacos. We're going to start off with a super simple Chipotle Mayo. All you need is sour cream, mayo, and a can of Chipotle peppers and Adobo Sauce. I put in about a tablespoon of sour cream, probably a tablespoon and a half of mayo. Then I'm not even going to use the peppers from this can. I'm just going to squeeze out some of the adobo sauce that the peppers are sitting in. Now if you wanted to make more, you could throw this in a blender and throw the peppers in with it. But since I'm only making a few tacos, this works just fine. I also added in a couple squeezes of lime to loosen it up a little bit. Next up, we're going to work on our slaw for on top of the tacos. It's going to be an apple and cabbage slaw. So we're slicing up our apples super thin here. So we're going to start off by slicing them lengthwise like this. And then we're going to stack them up. Once you have them stacked, slice them lengthwise again. Slice them up again to make these small little apple slices. We have our shredded cabbage we're going to throw into a bowl along with those apple slices. On top of that, we're going to throw probably about a tablespoon of rice vinegar. It's going to give this slaw a good bite. Probably another tablespoon of mayo. A pinch of sugar, probably about a teaspoon. And about a teaspoon of white pepper as well. And we're going to fully incorporate that. This slaw is going to give the tacos a great fresh crunch to go along with the slight heat of the Chipotle Mayo. Time to fry up our fish. Once our oil is up to heat at 375, we're going to start by throwing in our fillets one by one. You don't want to overcrowd the pan because the fish can stick together and cause problems. So I'm going in one by one here. Once I have a few of them in there, I'm going to move them around a bit to make sure none of them are sticking together. As you can see, my oil was probably a little too hot, so these brown very fast, but it's not a problem, they're not going to burn. These only take about 2 minutes to cook, so just move them around. And after about 2.5 minutes, you can pull them out. And I throw them right onto a rack to let that oil drip off. Now these are super crispy, as you can see. Now we're just going to repeat the process until we cook all of our fillets. Now it's time to assemble our tacos. Now for these, I'm using some white flour tortillas, but you could also use corn if you prefer. And we're going to gather all of our toppings as well as the tortillas. Now depending on the size of your tortillas and your fillets, you might be able to fit 2 fillets on each taco, but for me, they were big enough to have 1, and it worked just fine. Then we're going to drizzle on some of our Chipotle Mayo onto each of them. Next up, we have our slaw that we're going to throw onto each taco. And then you can pick a hot sauce of your choice, if you prefer, and throw that on top of the slaw, and your taco's ready. For how easy this beer batter recipe is, it really does create crispy, delicious fried fish, so I definitely recommend you try it out.